What's up? Welcome into the first edition of the Ben Garcia Show, formerly known as the Daily Desert Podcast. A little bit of a rebrand going on in the Ben Garcia Show. Threw a little bit of a slab of paint on it, put a different logo up, and now it is just me. You are welcome. You should be thankful. I am here to cure all of your sports content needs. A lot of things going on in the sports world right now. Appreciate you listening to us, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or for free on the iHeartRadio app. A lot of things going on in the world of sports. Caleb Williams, he looks like he wants to stay in school. He wants to take another chemistry class. Colorado football on a massive high after going into TCU and beating the tar out of the Horned Frogs. You got other things, and the Chiefs opening up against the Lions soon, but being without Travis Kelce. We'll preview a little bit of that. And also the 49ers just gave out the richest defensive deal ever. We'll get into that in just a minute. I want to start here. We're a Phoenix-based show. I run the Fox Sports 910 AM shows. I'm the executive producer here in Phoenix. So I want to start. It feels right to start in Phoenix. So let's go here. Well, kind of Phoenix, right? Because everyone is linking Caleb Williams to the Arizona Cardinals because the Arizona Cardinals are going to be bad this year. They're, for the most part, they've been a historically bad franchise, but over the past 4 years under Steve Keim, Cliff Kingsbury, and Michael Bidwell, it has been a debacle. They have puked all over themselves and made an embarrassment out of themselves, the players, and the rest of the organization. So everyone's linking Caleb Williams to the Arizona Cardinals because, surprise, surprise, they're not going to be very good this year, and they could end up with the number 1 overall pick and get their golden ticket back to the top, Caleb Williams. But the Cardinals already have a quarterback. We'll get to that in just a second. But there's an interesting storyline out there. Since the Cardinals are going to be bad, it's got everyone thinking, well, why would Caleb Williams want to join the Cardinals? And, well, it's not just Caleb Williams. It's not just Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. It is now Caleb Williams' father. He did an interview with GQ, very on brand for GQ, the magazine. But he said this: the funny thing about the NFL draft process is he'd almost be better off not being drafted than being drafted first. The system is completely backwards. The way the system is constructed, you go to the worst possible situation, the worst possible team, the worst organization in the league because of their desire for parity gets the first pick. So it's the gift and a curse. So if there's not a good situation, the truth is he can come back to school. Okay. When was the last number 1 overall pick that was a terrible team that kept their pick was an amazing situation? It doesn't exist. First off, that doesn't exist. You're looking for the perfect situation? Sorry, man. You better hope they start giving it to the team that wins the Super Bowl, because it's not happening. The worst possible situation. Yeah, hey, Caleb Williams, you're going to be made a multi-millionaire. And people will say to me, well, he could just stay in college. He makes a lot of money there. NIL, I think he makes $3 million this year. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's a lot of money. Probably more money than I'll ever see. But Patrick Mahomes just signed a $500 million contract. Jalen Hurts signed a massive deal. Kyler Murray, $45 million a year. Don't get me started on what Joe Burrow is going to make. And Dak Prescott, the most mediocre but paid over more than he has produced, Dak Prescott, $40 million a year. Caleb Williams, you could argue other quarterbacks. I'll give it to you. Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, guys like that. Players who have proved it. Lamar Jackson, you could argue if he's better than them. I'm not going to die on that hill. He's better than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott makes $40 million a year. Why in the world would Caleb Williams stay in school, risk a catastrophic injury, risk falling in the draft? What if there's another phenom quarterback? There's been a lot of good quarterbacks that have came out of the draft. A lot of safe options in the recent years. Kyler Murray was a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be a phenom. He is awesome, but he hasn't been as advertised yet. What if Caleb Williams falls into that tier? What if Caleb Williams decides he wants to stay back and God forbid he tears an ACL? Teams are going to look at him differently. You're telling me he has the opportunity to make the most money in the draft, the number 1 overall pick makes the most money in the draft, get put in a situation where he's the number 1 overall pick, you will be set for life, and he's going to pass on that? Feels like every single year we go through this. Well, there's a quarterback in the draft. You know, he could stay in school. You know, one of my favorite quotes that I heard one time on FS1's The Herd, Colin Cowherd, say it out loud. If it sounds crazy, it's probably crazy. You can say what you want about Colin Cowherd. I think it's a pretty good quote. Caleb Williams stays in school, pass up on millions, risks injury because he doesn't want to play with a certain team. Sounds crazy. It's not happening. And people link the Arizona Cardinals to Caleb Williams. There is no 100% thing that the Arizona Cardinals are going to have the worst record in the NFL last year. The Houston Texans tanked their own shot at having the number 1 overall pick in this draft when they beat the Colts in Week 18. It is literally anyone's game. You're telling me there's not a world where the Rams have the number 1 overall pick? Cooper Kupp? Who knows how long he's out? Aaron Donald? He's talked about retirement in the past. Matthew Stafford has an awful spinal cord injury that could take him out as well. And no one's rooting for that. That's awful. But the writing's on the wall. There's other the Raiders. Really? Chandler Jones is supposed to be how he doesn't want to be on that team. Josh McDaniels is a debacle of a head coach. You're telling me they can't have the number 1 overall pick? Oh, but since the Cardinals, since it could be the Cardinals, we're not even living in a world where it is the Cardinals. Newsflash, they have their franchise quarterback right now. He's the captain. They've propped him up. They've only talked good things about Kyler Murray. Jonathan Gann said in an interview with The Athletic today that he said Kyler Murray can be on his team as long as he wants to be. It's funny, man. Every year we talk about this. And every year it doesn't happen. Eli Manning did it once 20 years ago, guys. Get over yourself. The money was not the same. Eli Manning came from the Manning family. NFL football royalty, it's not the same. Caleb Williams is not staying in school. Caleb Williams is coming out to whatever team is having the number 1 overall pick, whether that's the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Rams, maybe the Texans suck again. Maybe CJ Stroud isn't what he's propped up to be, which that pick would go to the Cardinals as well, but still, you know what I mean there. It's insanity. From the NFL to college football, I'm sure you watched the game. How could you take your eyes off of it? Colorado went into TCU, what I believe is Waco, Texas. Don't quote me on that. And beat the TCU Horned Frogs. It was awesome. It was great to watch. It was, for anything or anything else, it was awesome theater. To be able to watch TCU almost have a storybook ending in Deion Sanders, Travis Hunter, his son, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce, obviously the quarterback Sanders, went into TCU, beat the national runner-up, and more or less told everyone to suck it DX style. Triple H and Shawn Michaels reference for your drive to work. But here's the issue. There's way too much hype surrounding Colorado right now. People are going bonkers for Deion Sanders in Colorado, including the latest AP poll. It was awesome. You can toot your horn that you proved everyone wrong. But what people don't understand is TCU lost that game more than Colorado won the game. TCU was averaging 7.1 yards per carry. Refused to run the ball later in the game when they could have put Colorado to bed, refused to just take the free 7 yards every play. The defensive line for Colorado is going to get exposed sooner rather than later. I think Deion Sanders can coach. I think Deion Sanders can recruit. I think he's perfect for college football. He's the next generation of great coaches, great recruiters in college football. But this is a slow cook. Having them as a team that was unranked that was made fun of more or less because everyone thought this was more so a gimmick, a way to get NIL money, a way to help support your program by generating money with it when you get a guy like Deion Sanders who is going to print you money. TCU lost that game. What is their quarterback doing testing Travis Hunter in the red zone? Made no sense. The play calling was suspect, 7.1 yards per carry. Interceptions in the red zone. TCU gave away that game. More than Colorado won it. It was cool to see Colorado do it. They didn't do anything to lose the game. But TCU lost that game more than Colorado won it. And you go and you lose yourself over it. I will never understand the media, who again was taunting Colorado, saying, what are you doing, Deion Sanders? Sure, he succeeded at Jackson State. He's not going to succeed in a Division I FBS football program, much less a Power 5 conference for this year. Now they're moving to the Big 12. The 22nd ranked team, this is a slow cook. This is going to take years. If Colorado finishes with enough wins to be eligible for a bowl game, that is a massive W. And people are just scraping. Now it's, well, could they win the Pac-12? No, they can't. Can they win 6 games? That's what I think. TCU, a mostly overrated team, but the voters, I'm sure, felt like they needed to give them enough votes to stay in the top 25 because they were a runner-up last year. Lost Max Duggan, lost multiple guys on offense, multiple guys on defense. It's a good team, good program. Sonny Dykes is a good coach. Probably shouldn't have been the 17th ranked team. And now, not only are you the 22nd ranked team in Colorado, you went from being a 14-point underdog to Nebraska to now a 2.5-point favorite at home. That is almost a 17-point swing. Something that, I mean, you don't see every day. Not only do I think Colorado's going to lose on Saturday, but I think Matt Rule is going to expose the trenches and the defensive line. The offensive line's not great either. It's a little bit of a gimmicky offense right now, which is totally fine. What did you expect from this team? They've got a lot of makeshift pieces, a lot of new transfers. It's going to take time. It's a slow cook. But Colorado is getting way too much hype right now. Kudos on winning. And I believe in Deion Sanders. I believe that it's going to work. I don't think he's going to stay in Colorado. I think maybe he'll go somewhere else, Florida State. That's been floated around at some point if he succeeds in Colorado. I believe in Deion Sanders and Colorado for the long run. But right now, we need to simmer down. It's one win. Act like you've been there before. We've seen it. Take the emotion out of it. This is not the 22nd best team in FBS, in the college football playoff, in college football. We're lucky if it's a top 50 program. Shifting gears over to football, we have our first big injury of the NFL season. It sucks even more because it happened in practice. A lot of players, a lot of teams picked him in their fantasy football drafts. Travis Kelce hyperextends his knee, questionable for his game on Thursday night. I'm not going to talk a ton about the Chiefs and Lions because for the most part, you know what my analyzation of that game, and I'm not sure when this is going to come out. But Travis Kelce is now injured. And now it's got me seriously wondering about the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not a great roster. And everyone tells me, well, you got Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, anything's possible. And for the most part, I absolutely do believe that. But now Travis Kelce's out. Travis Kelce's getting older. Travis Kelce is on the wrong side of 30. Doesn't mean he's going to plummet. But older guys don't get less injured as they get older. They get more injured. Patrick Mahomes, I think, has only missed 2 games ever with Travis Kelce. When he's starting, he's only not had Travis Kelce in the lineup twice. It's new territory for Patrick Mahomes. you look at the rest of their team, and it's not great. Their depth chart. Let me list off some of the names for the Kansas City Chiefs' lethal offense. Kadarius Toney, already injured. We're not too sure what he's going to be this year, although in spurts last year, good. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, probably a number 3. Sky Moore, jury's still out. Replacing guys like Orlando Brown for Donovan Smith, didn't love that. Isaiah Pacheco's going into his second year. Jerick McKinnon is that very crafty veteran. And then you look over to the defensive side of the ball. No Chris Jones right now. You know what I'm alluding to? The Chiefs are closer to 10-7 than they are to 13-4 again. The Chiefs last year went 13-4. The Chiefs last year went 13-4. I think they're going to go 10-7 this year. It's going to be tough. You already are out without Travis Kelce. God forbid Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. But Mahomes has been nicked up before. Dislocated his knee a few years ago. Offensive line is worse, not better. Chiefs didn't do a ton to get better in the offseason. What I'm alluding to is the Chiefs are more likely going to be 10-7 than they are 13-4. The streak of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes consistently making the AFC Championship, it's going to come to an end this year. Doesn't mean they're not contenders. It doesn't mean the Kansas City Chiefs aren't an elite organization and a very good franchise this year. When they have Patrick Mahomes, anything is possible. But you can't lean completely on Patrick Mahomes. It is a team sport. But to Patrick's credit, he's taking less money. Patrick Mahomes is coachable. He's a great quarterback. At this point, looks like he's throwing to lawn deck chairs without Travis Kelce. They're going to make the playoffs. And again, they're contenders. But you look at that division, it's gotten a little better. The Broncos have nowhere else to go but up, and that defense is as lethal as ever. Raiders are going to be more competent, not less, with Jimmy G. Although a little bit of drama there, they're going to be fine. They're probably going to be better. And then the Chargers. Captain checkdown is gone and Joe Lombardi. And the Chargers are going to be better with Kellen Moore as the OC. Chargers are probably going to win that division this year. Everyone's down on them this year after being super high on them last year. But the Chiefs, they've got a lot of things not going their way now. Didn't have a great offseason. Offensive line is in flux. Travis Kelce's now injured. It's a good organization. And if they won the title, I would absolutely be surprised. It's not looking down on Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. But there's only so much you can take. And with Chris Jones out, who knows when he'll get his new deal? It seems like they're pretty far apart on a deal still, even after training camp. Kelce's injured. Donovan Smith in, Orlando Brown out. I'm just saying, that AFC Championship run of consecutive years, I believe 4 years in a row, 5 years in a row, it's going to come to an end this year. A little bit of breaking news as we go over from the Kansas City Chiefs to the San Francisco 49ers. The holdout is over. Nick Bosa is going to be at the San Francisco's 49ers Week 1 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He got a 5-year, $170 million deal, roughly $30+ million a year, $34 million a year, if my math is right there. Don't quote me. We obviously don't know the exact average annual value, meaning we don't know how the contract's constructed. There could be outs. There could be injury clauses. But looking at black and white, $34 million a year, 5 years, $170 million. It's a win for the 49ers. It's the highest contract on the defensive side in NFL history. It's hard to say that it's not deserved. He's a very good pass rusher, probably top 3 in the league. Micah Parsons, him, probably 1A, 1B. Myles Garrett is up there as well. Good deal for the Niners. But I saw someone One of my buddies said over $100 million, I don't know if this is 1,000% true, over $100 million allocated to their defensive line, but $1 million allocated to their quarterback. In 2023, that feels a little skewed. Those numbers probably should give $100 million to the quarterback if you have the guy and figure out the rest after that. But I digress. The Niners have this year to win a Super Bowl. This is it. The Niners have a lot of money that they have to fork over in the coming years. The 49ers have a money problem. In 2024, they are due to pay Trent Williams, the best left tackle in the NFL, Deebo Samuel, top 20 wide receiver, Eric Armstead, another pass rusher, Fred Warner, probably the best middle linebacker in the NFL, George Kittle, an injury-riddled tight end over the past couple of years, but an elite tight end when he's healthy, Charvarius Ward, Javon Hargrave, Brandon Ayuk, who probably going to get somewhere in the deal of Christian Kirk money. He got $17 million a year. I could see Brandon Ayuk getting 20. Christian McCaffrey. Can't pay everyone. At some point, you're going to have to stop the backing up the Brinks truck, and you can't pay everyone. This is it for the San Francisco 49ers. Not for them to go into a major rebuild, but they're not going to be this consistent 10-plus win team after this year. It's just how the NFL works. Just like it's capitalism in the NFL. A good team goes, does successful, dies, another good team takes its place. It's the NFL world of capitalism. Brock Purdy was mystery relevant for a reason. He was the last pick, and not just a round, in the NFL draft. Brock Purdy's going to pull back. He's not going to be this 6-0, 7-0 starter. He never lost a game, but of course, wins are only a quarterback stat if you want it to be. But if you're against that argument, then you're saying that it's a team stat. But again, this is one of the noisiest off seasons in the NFL. I don't love the Niners' chances of making it to even the NFC Conference Championship game. I expect Brock Purdy to pull back. The defense is going to be good. It's as advertised. You can pretty much plug any defensive coordinator in there. DeMeco Ryans over the years. The Robert Salehs. It's going to be elite. But Kyle Shanahan, everyone tells me he can win, and he can with certain quarterbacks. Can't win the big game because no one can. If you don't have a top 8 quarterback, you cannot win the Super Bowl. The San Francisco 49ers don't have that. There's the Trent Dilfers, the Joe Flaccos of the world, but mostly over the past 15 years, if you don't have a top 5 to 8 quarterback, you can't win the Super Bowl. And we see that now with the San Francisco 49ers. They get really far. The formula works to be a successful organization, but the 49ers, they're about winning championships. They're about winning titles. And this is the last year for that for a few years. Got to pay a lot of guys. And I don't think the 49ers are going to be even the representative out of the NFC, much less making an appearance in the Super Bowl. I don't even think they'll make the conference championship game. I think Seattle's creeping up to them, and they have a better quarterback in Geno Smith. I'd take Geno over Brock Purdy. A lot of young guys on that Seattle Seahawks team. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners won 9 games this year. Because I was one of those people that said Jimmy Garoppolo's better than you think, but you ran him out of town. Because there's a narrative that Kyle Shanahan can win with anyone. I think it's more so Kyle Shanahan can be competitive with anyone at quarterback. Not that he can win with any quarterback. San Francisco 49ers are going to pull back this year. What they do in the playoffs? Will they wet the bed again? But it's been a very noisy offseason. Noisy offseasons almost always correlate to a disappointing NFL season. Doesn't mean they'll miss the playoffs, but disappointing. What does that look like? To me, it's 10-7, 9-8. Don't win your division. A very noisy offseason. Congrats to Nick Bosa for getting his deal, although it was very noisy to get to this point. The Trey Lance debacle. I expect the 49ers to pull back this year. And I believe this is their last clear chance at a championship. Because I don't think they're better than half the teams in the AFC. They're not better than the Eagles. You can make an argument they're not better than the Cowboys now. You could make an argument they won't win their division this year. If the Niners don't make the playoffs, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. It's going to be a different year for the Niners this year. I expect Brock Purdy to pull back. I expect the emotions of the summer, the noisy offseason to linger. And I expect this to be the last chance for the 49ers to win that 6th title. We will be back next week, and when I say we, I say me. It's been the Ben Garcia Show.